Well, more than 300 prisoners of war have been exchanged between Russia and Ukraine in one of the largest swaps since Russia's full-scale invasion began in February 2022. The 59th prisoner exchange between the countries was brokered by the United Arab Emirates. On the Ukrainian side, President Volodymyr Zelensky says 186 prisoners returned home. And for more on this story, I'm joined now by Kateryna Argyrou from the Australian Federation of Ukrainian Organisations. Kateryna, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me, Melissa.
So President Zelensky says 186 Ukrainians have returned home. What do we know about who these people are and how long they were imprisoned?
Melissa, I'm sorry, I have to make a slight correction. It's 189 prisoners of war that have been exchanged. We value each and every single member of Ukraine's defense forces and each and every single Ukrainian that has been returned. That's 189 families that can celebrate together now and have joyous moment. What we know is that 189 of those people, they were defenders of Azovstal, they were defenders of Mariupol, they were defenders of Chernobyl nuclear power plant, as well as Mine Island. They were across many different parts of Ukrainians' defense forces, which includes the Navy, it includes the State Border Guard Service, National Guard of Ukraine, as well as the Armed Forces of Ukraine. In those 189, there were also 2 civilians from Mariupol that were released as well. So a broad range, and those people were held in Russian captivity, some for almost 3 years, some more recently were captured in Kursk region, which is in the Russian Federation. So yeah, a broad range of prisoners of war that have been exchanged.
Some of the figures we've been seeing, Russia says that 150 Russian soldiers were freed and that it was also 150 on the Ukrainian side. Do we know why there is that discrepancy in numbers?
I'm going based off of the Office of the President, of President Zelensky. He was reporting on it yesterday, so the number that we are working with is 189. I don't know why that discrepancy exists, but there are official parts of the Ukrainian government that are involved in these negotiations and in these exchanges, so we can only go based off of the official statistics.
With those 189 Ukrainians returned home, what will be next for them? Do we know?
We know that some of those that were exchanged suffer from chronic illnesses. They suffer from having been wounded on the battlefield. We also know from UN reports that there is systematic torture and just violation of human rights of prisoners of war that are held in Russian captivity. So most likely these prisoners of war that have been released need critical medical attention. So the first thing for them will be to obviously be reunited with their families. We've seen some really moving images of family members that have been reunited as our prisoners of war have been brought home. So obviously to rejoice in that moment, in that reunion, but then the next step will be for them to go to a medical facility to get medical examinations, to get proper medical attention, and probably after that a very long rehabilitation process, both physical and mental.
Yes, absolutely. Is there any idea at the moment how many Ukrainians remain as prisoners of war due to this conflict? How many people are still waiting to come home?
What we know is how many have been released. So the official number is that 3,956 people have been brought back from Russian captivity. Just this year alone, in 2024, it has been 1,358 prisoners of war that have been released. We know that there are still thousands being held in Russian captivity. So our job as the community and our job as just normal human beings is to advocate for the release of those prisoners of war because we know that they are kept in inhumane conditions. We know that they are subjected to systematic torture and they must be brought home.
Kateryna, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate your insights this afternoon.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, Melissa.